Hello everyone and welcome back to the Beat Inflation Pantry Challenge. It's been a great week so far. This week we are tackling one of the most powerful ways to save money and stock up to be prepared. Smart stocking up. That's what we're going to be talking about. Hello everybody and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa and we are all about pantry preparedness because I believe it is the best insurance that money can buy. We're going to dive into what to buy, when to buy it, and how to store it. Let's get started. First, a quick recap of our challenge. This is all about empowering ourselves because we can always use that, right? But in this way, we're empowering ourselves to save money, reduce waste, and beat those rising grocery prices. Yeah. Last week, we tackled creative pantry meals and basic food preservation. And that's after we did our inventory, right? So now let's look at when to buy because timing is everything when it comes to saving big. Sales cycles. Why does this matter? Because there is a pattern and it's very area dependent, country dependent, season dependent on when certain things go on sale. And that's what we need to educate ourselves on to make the best use of our funds, to stock up for the best price, to make sure that we have what we need for our families. Understanding these cycles means that you can anticipate and prepare when to do your biggest shopping, right? For those particular items, for your favorite particular items. So first, how to track them. Do you get sales flyers? I don't get them so much anymore. I really don't get them at all anymore, but I know that I can access them online. So for the purposes of there's always a Walmart someplace, they're as bad as Dollar General, we're going to look at Walmart. Okay, what's on sale at Walmart this week? You want to keep an eye on what is happening with the sales, what is going on with what you're looking for as far as sale items. Watch for recurring sale patterns. For example, baking goods, right? Your flours, your sugars, your baking chips, your cocoa, that kind of stuff typically goes on sale right before the holidays because everyone is baking for the holidays, right? So here's a little tip for you. Canned goods and pasta typically go on sale and you can find 10 for 10 kind of deals every 6 to 8 weeks. Did you know that? Holidays, because there's just about one in every single month. So remember back in May, if you've been with me long enough, I mentioned that one of the things to look for on sale is anything that is Mexican, Latin inspired, because Cinco de Mayo and because people celebrate Cinco de Mayo. And so anything dealing with that kind of food, you probably find on sale. Grilling meats typically go on sale in the summer, right before, the 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day. And don't forget about the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, because you can normally find pumpkin stuff going on sale in November, Thanksgiving. Then there's seasonal produce. Oh, it's my favorite time of year. Yes, it is. As we discussed in a previous video, seasonal produce is always fresher and cheaper when it is the most abundant. Buy those berries in the summer and freeze them. Buy those apples in the fall and make all your apple stuff, your apple pie filling, your apple sauce. You can even freeze them. You can dehydrate them. Oh, yeah, they're really good. So you should set yourself up some stock up triggers. Use your calendar, use your planner, whatever the case may be. And when you see the things that you are the most likely to buy, your favorite kind of things, right? Then mark them in the calendar when you see them go on sale. It doesn't hurt if you've got space to mark down that price either so that you can compare it as the years move forward, because that will spiral your day really quick. But when you see an item you regularly buy at 50% off, it is the trigger. It is definitely the trigger, right? To stock up. You want to be able to stock up when it hits that price. As you build your pantry, this becomes more and more doable. So if it's not something that you think is in your budget today, I get it. I absolutely get it. But as you build your pantry, you will get that give and that elasticity in your budget so that you can go, you know, I don't really need tuna this week. So I have, 12 cans or whatever the case may be. And so I'm going to put that money towards that sale for the other stuff that we really like. And look at, now I can buy it. It is great. It will position you so that you can take advantage of deals as you move forward. And my perfect example of this is my day yesterday. Okay, I had a whole day planned, and none of it included going to buy boneless, skinless chicken breast. However, I got a text from a market where we buy bulk meat when it goes on sale, and they typically put it on super sale. You cannot buy chicken in my area for less than $3 a pound right now, and I know that's cheap for some areas, so I get you, okay? But that is triple what I'm used to paying for it, and more than double what I could get it for in the spring. Never thought I'd see that price again. So when I got the text that said 40 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast for $60 works out to $1.50 a pound, we got in the car and we went for a drive. And I came home with 80 pounds of chicken. That right there, that's $120 that I had not planned to spend yesterday. I didn't plan to spend anything yesterday. But because I freed up room in my budget, I know I don't have to buy anything else to get us through the rest of the month. I know that I can afford to do that. Another example is Prime Days, which all the different retailers are taking advantage of. And so when I said, hey, the protein powder that we use for various things is on sale and you get about $10 off a canister on Prime, somebody else said, hey, Lise, they have the same deal going on Walmart right now. Only actually Walmart had a better deal because they had all of them at that price. And so last night I saved us over $300 on protein powders. And it's all being shipped to my house. I don't have to go pick it up. And I'm not going to have to buy it for a few months, literally. It's a great, great thing to have that freedom to be able to pick up those things that you know you're going to use when they go on super sale. I have never seen the protein powder $10 off before. So I'm going to take advantage of it as much as I can without going into debt for it. That's the key. So next we're going to talk about how do you know when it's a deal, right? And that comes down to unit price. So some of you may know this, some of you may not. You may not be sure exactly how it all works. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through it down and dirty here. The single most important skill for saving money is that bigger isn't always better. Now, for the most part, it is, but it's not always better. It's a really great form of shrinkflation that they do to us. And because they're tricking us, because most of us are too lazy to actually do the math. It's terrifying. So if you were looking at, let's take for example, rice, okay? The small bag is 16 ounces and the 5-pound bag is 80 ounces. That's what you want to keep track of, okay? So how do we know which one is cheaper per ounce? You have to do some math. So you're going to take the price and divide it by the quantity. The small bag is $2.50 divided by 16 ounces. That comes out to 0.156 per ounce. That's how much that one is. The larger bag, which is $8 for 80 ounces, is 0.10. It's 10 cents an ounce. It's cheaper by 5 cents. So that's when buying in bulk makes sense. When does buying in bulk not make sense? It doesn't make sense if you're not going to use it. So if you are a single person who rarely eats rice, does it make sense for you to buy the bigger bag? Well, if you're going to use it in the next 30 years and you have the ability to store it properly, sure, you never have to buy rice again, you know? Otherwise, it may just make sense for you to have the small bag. You have to weigh in all of those factors, not only the cost per unit, but how much you actually use it, and do you have the ability to properly store it for the lifespan of that particular food. When does buying in bulk make sense? Buying in bulk, like I said, usually reduces the price per unit. Usually, not always. definitely don't take it as a given, because there are lots of examples where it doesn't work that way. But you do get lower trips to the grocery store. You have a stocked pantry, and you know you don't have to run out for an ingredient because it's already there. The cons to this are that you need the upfront cash. Never charge it, okay? You need the upfront cash. So if you have been able to put some aside to buy that bulk item, then that makes absolute sense to use it that way, because you're getting it for a lower price. You also need to make sure that you have the ability to store it properly and the space to store it properly. So buying 100 pounds of rice when you don't have room for 2 1-pound bags, that doesn't make sense, you know? You have to know that you can store it properly and that you have the space to store it properly, along with the cash to pay for it. There's so much to factor in. The what to buy. Your pantry powerhouse, because we all need a pantry powerhouse. My whole pantry is a powerhouse. Okay, so we know when to buy. Now let's talk about the what to buy to truly maximize your long-term savings and build a resilient pantry. When you are looking at different things, you want to categorize your staples, the why and the how. These are building blocks of countless meals, offering maximum versatility and long shelf life. So for me, those are the basics, like your rice, your pastas, your grains, your beans, okay? Dried beans. Those are staples in my world as far as, you know, your groceries. Then there are the canned products, like your vegetables, your tomato-based stuff, like pasta sauce and salsa and pizza sauce and, you know, whatever else you use. There are staples that are unique to you that I may not stock, and vice versa. You're looking for your foundational ingredients. You're looking for your flour or your wheat to make flour. You're looking for your sugar. You're looking for your sugar substitutes, if that's the case. You're looking for dried milk, because that way you've always got some kind of milk. These are your staples. Next, you're going to look at proteins. And you know that's my favorite thing. And so we're back to my protein shelf, because that right there is what makes me happy. Your canned meat, your fish, your tuna, your chicken, your salmon, your dried beans, your black beans, your pinto, your kidney, your lentils. Incredibly cheap and versatile, right? Your peanut butter and your protein powder if you use it. That's how simple proteins are. It's just that simple. And you know that you're going to be using them. If it's something that you use today and you eat today, then you know that they're going to be used. So stocking up on those makes a lot of sense, right? Next are your fats. So you're going to look at your cooking oils. You're going to look at your oils that you use for making dressings, you know, that kind of thing, your lard, whatever the case may be. Remember, they don't have a super long shelf life, but they'll last you about a year or so. So you want to make sure that you've got some of those too. Your baking needs, definitely. Your baking soda, some baking powder. Don't buy huge bunches of it because it does go bad. Your salt, your sugar, you know, those things. Your baking chips if you use them. So easy to stock up on. I'll go back to the canned goods for a minute, because when I'm talking about canned goods, home canned and or commercially canned, you're looking at your tomato-based products. You're looking at your soups, because how many times do we use soups as an ingredient for casseroles or something like that, right? You want to look at your fruits. You want to look at your veggies. You want to look at anything that you buy that is typically either home canned by you or commercially canned by somebody else. And don't forget about your spices, because that's what makes life worth living, okay? That special flavor, that taste. Because I'll tell you what, tacos don't taste the same without some cumin. So it makes a difference. It really does. You want to look at items that are versatile and have the best shelf life. Versatility means that you can use the ingredient in a bunch of different things, right? A bunch of different recipes. And the long shelf life ensures that it won't go bad before you get to it, hopefully. I mean, something as simple as dried beans, that can become soup, that can become chili, that can become baked beans, that can become a burger. I mean, beans are pretty versatile, right? And they are pennies on the dollar when you buy them dried. So, and shelf life, oh yeah, amazing shelf life, amazing shelf life. So Beans, yeah, hello. That's the kind of thing that you want to look at if you eat it today. If you don't eat it today, don't super stock up on it. Buy a 1-pound bag. Try a few different things. It may take some getting used to. Changing your diet, no matter what the reason, will always require you to get used to it a bit. Now, being proactive about rising prices locks you in for a while. That's another reason that we stock up, because my $1.50 a pound chicken, okay, is going to carry us into probably the end of 2026. So in 2026, when I'm probably going to be paying 2 pounds for the cheapest for chicken breast, we'll come back and check that out, right? I'm only eating for $1.50. That's a great way to save money moving forward, knowing that your dinner is only costing you 2020 prices, 2022 prices, and it's 2025. That is a superpower. Let's talk about protecting our investment. That's the important part too, okay? Because you have worked hard for your money. You have spent the time finding the great price. You bring it home, but now, how do you store it so that it's still good when you want to use it? Proper storage prevents pest infestation, spoilage, and nutrient degradation. Because eventually, even though you can eat it, it may not have the nutrients that it once had. How do we achieve optimum? Okay, now this is going to be totally dependent on wherever you are, and I don't want to lose you on this part because I get this comment a whole bunch. Well, what if we live someplace that's hot and humid and our air conditioning goes out for a week? Check your seals on your jars, check your cans, check your pantry items, make sure everything is still sealed. Go back a month later, check it again, make sure it's still sealed, okay? You can't control the weather. People in Florida, people in Arizona, people in California, they have preserved literally for as long as people in Michigan, okay? So it happens. It just means that your long-term food storage may not be as long-term as mine. The optimum conditions are cool, dark, and dry. That means someplace between 55 and 75 degrees, no light, no moisture. So if you have a cool, dark basement, but the humidity down there is enough to choke a fish, you have a problem, okay? So you need that combination of all three. Today in my pantry, it's probably about 78 degrees because I'm refusing to turn on the air conditioning. Is my stuff not going to last as long? I have not worried in the least little bit. Number one, I rotate through it the way that you're supposed to. That's huge. Number two, a couple of degrees here and there is not going to be a big difference. If those are the elements that you live in, then that's just what you have to expect. It will not last as long as the same item in my pantry here in Michigan. What do you want to look for? Airtight bins. They have to be airtight. Putting a lid on it doesn't mean it's airtight. A lot of times people love those gallon jugs that like pickles and stuff come in, but those lids are no longer airtight once they're opened, and there's not really a great way that I'm aware of to make sure that they are airtight once again. So, I mean, years, a very long time ago, I tried using those as flour and sugar containers, right? And the flour got weevils and the sugar turned into a brick because they're not airtight. So you want to make sure that the containers you put your food in are airtight. If you are going to repurpose other jars, make sure that they get airtight, okay? Make sure that nothing will go bad in them. Test it out. Put some sugar in it. Put some salt in it. You know, vacuum seal. So everybody keeps asking about those Classico spaghetti jars. No, you cannot can in those. It's a whole nother discussion. But they are perfect for storing dried goods like your spices, you know, that kind of stuff. And you can use a canning lid on it and vacuum seal it down. That makes it airtight. Simple shelving, okay? We use muscle racks because obviously I'm, into quantity. So we use muscle racks. They hold a lot. We buy 3 units and turn it into 2 because that's how I get my shelves closer together so that it doesn't waste any space. That way, pint jars literally only have about an inch or so above them, and that gives me actually room for a whole nother shelf on there to do pint jars where there's only an inch above them, instead of having, 6+ inches above the jars. That is wasted space. But by buying 3, turning it into 2, I have created great space usage for my jars. If you're not going to use muscle racks, which are the ones that I prefer and recommend, and I get it because they're also not super cheap and you're not going to buy a ton of them at one time. I mean, we didn't. So pay attention to the load capacity for those shelves, because all shelves are different. While you're stacking all your stuff, right? Remember the first in, first out method. It is imperative to keep you from wasting money, because the whole purpose of this is to not waste money. Pest control, when you're doing something like this, is huge, astronomical. Nothing will destroy your pantry faster, okay, than pantry moths or mice or rats or cockroaches or whatever bug is, prevalent in wherever you are living. Pests will destroy your pantry. That's a lot of hard-earned, hard-worked-for money down the drain. So making sure that everything is airtight, that it's sealed, that it is rodent-proof, huge, huge. I cannot stress this enough. Take it out of the bags that you bought it in the store. Take it out of the boxes that you bought it in the store. Recant it into airtight jars, into containers like this. These are airtight, okay? That kind of stuff is super, super important to make sure that your items are not put at risk from hitchhikers. There are some things that you can use. They have pantry moth traps. I will put a link down below for the ones that I have used in the past very successfully. I've only had pantry moths once. That was a lesson learned for me. Pretty much lessons like that I only have to learn one time. There are mouse traps that we use regularly. I live in the country. I have livestock. I'm gonna have mice. But my goal is to keep them as far away from the house as possible. So I have a few of these mouse traps that don't make me have to deal with icky guts and blood and stuff, They're fantastic. They're clean. They're not nasty. And they alert you when they have done their job, which is really nice. And no, it is not Finnegan Beginnigan, the Wonder Cat. Briefly, I want to talk to you about canning, because that's my jam, right? I love canning. And my main reason when I started canning was because if you blink wrong out here, the power goes out. And so I did not want to risk my hard-earned money defrosting in a freezer because I was out of power because somebody blinked wrong. Having a shelf-stable protein, shelf-stable fruits, vegetables, soups, stews, all of that stuff is super important, and the main reason why I started canning years ago. Your canning pantry will save you so much money. Canning allows you to preserve seasonal produce when it's at its cheapest, when it's at its best. And even better yet, it gives you complete control over the ingredients. Think about how much a can of commercially canned chicken costs versus what I put into a jar. What I put into that jar is about double the amount that you find in your average can. And it is about a quarter of the cost. That's how much money I'm saving. But you had to buy the canner and the jars and the jar lifter. Yes, I did. And so for years, literally, I have used the same canners, the same jars, and the same jar lifter, which means it was a one-time investment, but it has saved me thousands of dollars. Whether it's jams, whether it's pickles, whether it's ugly chicken, right? Because that's my jam. There's no way to not save money by learning how to can. And you don't have to have a garden to justify it. All right, my frugal friends, what is the one item that you regularly stock up on? As you may have guessed, ugly chicken is my one thing. I watch that sale religiously every single year. It got me this year. But ugly chicken is the one thing that every time it goes on sale, I will end up buying some. What is that one thing that you will stock up on no matter what every time it goes on sale? Drop it in the comments section down below. So that is our deep dive into smart stocking up. There are some key points to remember. Every grocery trip should be intentional, and you should be working at reducing impulse purchases. They are expert marketers, so you need to battle against them. Understanding unit prices is key to getting the best savings when you buy in bulk. Strategic stockpiling saves money in the long run. The longer that I can buy the cheapest price and stock it up, the longer that I eat for significantly less than everyone around me. Start small, build gradually, and watch your savings grow. Until next time, everybody, be safe. Stack it to the rafters, my friends. Ideal storage prevents pest